So uncivilized.
Greetings and welcome to the 1-6 Scale Man proudly presents another episode of You Know What It Is, Uncivilized Scoundrels Thursday night. And we just decided we're just going to continue on with a saga. And so the saga continues. Now, we went through the entire season of Andor. Then we switched gears after Andor. We went straight into Rogue One. And now we're going from Rogue One into You Know What It Is, A New Hope. We just decided to see how everything kind of ties together, how we tie all these things together from Andor to Rogue One to New Hope. So we just decided to have this little discussion, reminisce on everything that we know about Star Wars, aka New Hope. But I am not here by myself. I am here with the one and only Press X in the building, bro. What's going on with you, bro?
Everything's under control here. Situation normal. I had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly fine.
We're fine.
All right, now we're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
How are you? How are you, bro? Hey, yo, you know what? Yo, X, here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. Hold on. I did not know. And this is what, because we all wondered, was that written on paper? Harrison Ford was like, no, that was improvised. After what he said was because he was supposed to stop this brief malfunction, whatever. Mm-hmm. And no, he kept going. And that was one of the cuts that they chose. And it was like, we were given the lines, but we were also given the full permission to improvise where there was space to improvise the fill in the blanks, just to make the dialogue. And I'm like, that actually makes absolute good sense between all of them, because half of the dialogue was there, but they were improvising, you know what I mean? Like, just the rest of the way.
Well, what was it he said? It's like, you can write this stuff, but you can't say it.
You can't say
this stuff, but you can't. Yeah. And I like it because it says so much about his character when he's just like, you go and get her. I'll hold him off here. Everything's fine here. Situation. Everything's under control. Yeah. Situation normal.
Yeah.
Just like, we're all fine here now. How are you? Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just the way he winces after he says it is just great. It's like, it's absolutely one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars, and it says so much about the character of Han Solo. Where he's just, and then finally at the end is like, boring conversation anyways. He just blasts it, boring conversation anyway. The amount of humor in Star Wars, the amount of humor. So anyone who ever talks about any of the gags or the humor, you can have humor in Star Wars, you can't have gags, but any of the humor in Star Wars, and there's too much humor in Star Wars, go back and look at A New Hope. There is so much humor, especially Han Solo humor, where he's chasing the stormtroopers. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but chasing the, where he's like, get back to the ship, and he and Chewie go running after the stormtroopers. He's just yelling with his gun, and then he turns a corner, and then he sees a room full of stormtroopers, and he comes running back as they're firing at him. But I love that he's just tearing ass down this hallway, going, ah! Bro. Anyone who says that there's not comedy in Star Wars, come on. Come on.
You lost it.
Traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy.
Exactly. He said, don't get cocky. You know what I mean? So bro, who makes this shit up? But it's just that they made it work. They honestly made it work for what it was. And a lot of the dialogue that was definitely written and directed. Now, mind you, keep in mind, polar opposites of what we actually got from the prequels, where a lot of people thought that the dialogue was a bit choppy. I think that it was written with the same intent. Is it that you have actors that give it life based on the simple fact that they are willing to improvise? You know what I mean? Whenever there's a need to do it. And I think a lot of it is also about chemistry, bro. You have to have good chemistry, especially when you're reading these crazy ass lines, bro. When you're reading those lines, you have to have like when they asked both Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, like you said about the dialogue, well, did you understand? He's like, no, we didn't understand any of that. We didn't know what it was. A whole bunch of made up words. We just had to memorize it. We knew what it was. I mean, we knew what it was on paper, but none of that made sense. He said, but it was just, you know.
What was it Peter Cushing said? It's like, what's a moth?
Yeah, like what's
okay, yes, I'm saying this, but what's a moth? No, a moth. It's like, oh, okay.
He said a moth. Yeah, he said
a moth. A moth? No,
a
moth. So imagine
moth.
Peter Cushing just confused about what a moth is. It was supposed to be a moth, whatever that was.
And imagine how many times he said moth.
Oh
you know
my
what I mean?
gosh.
Instead of moth. You know what I mean?
Because the sheer amount of like his outtakes that he did where he's just trying to say the dialogue and he's just tripping over himself. He's like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah, bro. But like honestly, like how many times have you found yourself like for real? Like I remember coming up and again, 1977, first time seeing Star Wars in the theaters. You know what I mean? I remember going to Wendy's. I remember so vividly going to Wendy's. We went to Wendy's first, right? We went to Wendy's. We got a burger, and that's when the buns were like huge. We went to Wendy's, got a burger, some fries, and a Frosty. And I used to actually take my fries and dip it in your Frosty, right?
Yep.
We drove up, and at the time, it was called Eric Theater. Now, we had within the area, it was called the Colonial Park Mall. And right next to the Colonial Park Mall was the Eric Theater. It was the Eric Twin. I think it was a twin theater. I believe if Vinny was here, he can actually keep me honest, but it was a twin. I don't need the blues. It was a twin theater, right? And I remember so vividly going in, bro, and watching the movie. And back then, bro, and I'm dating myself. Back then, the tickets were $5. $5 for a movie ticket, probably even less than that, right? Popcorn was $1. $1. Something to drink was like $1. Candy was like 50 cents. If you wanted to get a pack of Twizzlers, it was like 50 cents, bro. Probably even less than that. You know what I mean? That like, and you paid $5 to sit in a movie theater all day if you wanted to. All day. And watch the same movie over and over again. And they didn't kick you out. You would sit there while they were cleaning. And they were like, oh, you going to stick around? Yeah. I want to watch it again. And you would just watch it over and over again. And I remember, bro, no matter how many times I watched this film, I still got the name Darth Vader wrong.
Oh, yeah. I grew up calling him Dark Vader.
Dark Vader, bro. Like,
Dark Vader. Yeah. Because what the hell's a Darth? Years later, I'm like, oh, yeah, it means Dark Father. Darth Vader, Dark Father. But yeah, growing up, I'm like, Dark Vader.
Yeah. Everybody was just like, Dark Vader.
All the kids in the playground, Dark Vader.
Yep, friends. That's the same thing, bro. Dark Vader, bro. That's what we used to call him. Dark Vader. I didn't know anything about a Darth until I read it on pages. And I was like,
and then you thought it was his first name. You know, you're like, oh, Darth, it must be his first name and not his title. You know, it's like, no, Darth. It's just first, you know, Obi-Wan's like, oh yeah, Darth. It's like, oh, good. That's his first name. No, it's not his first name.
No. And even when it came to Obi-Wan, I was calling him Ben Kenobi, bro. I was never saying Obi-Wan. I wouldn't never say the entire, I used to say Ben Kenobi.
I mean, let's face it, we had more time with him as Ben than we did as Obi-Wan. You know, like the whole time Luke's with him, it's Ben, you know.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Force Ghost of Anakin visited Luke and they had a conversation. He's like, "Oh yeah, Ben was your master," and I wonder if Anakin was like, who the fuck is Ben? Like, who's Ben? It's like, who's Ben? Oh, you mean Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan. You call him Ben? Obi-Wan let you call him Ben?
We never called him Ben. Like, what do you mean? Where did you get that from?
But even Leia's like, Ben Kenobi.
Yeah, like Ben.
Ben Kenobi sounds like the guy who lives around the block from you. Ben Kenobi. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know Ben Kenobi. He owes me $5. Ben Kenobi.
I can only imagine the conversation, or if there was a cut scene with Leia, you know what I mean, on a Star Destroyer, or at the time on the Death Star, that is, held in captivity, bro, and Vader torturing her, and she said, "You know what? You might win now, but when Ben gets here," and then Vader going, "The fuck you mean?"
No wonder he's like, the resistance to the mind probe is considerable. It'll be some time to get some information out of her because she's talking nonsense about this guy named Ben, who I've never met, but he says he's going to come and fuck my shit up.
Yeah, like, who's Ben?
So clearly she's out of it, and we're not going to get the information out of her.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're planning on doing, because she's not giving up the information on where the rebel base is.
She's not. Like, you know what I mean? So, all these names, bro. Do you remember? Did you ever? Because there was a generator that was online at one point where you would actually create your own Star Wars name. They would go through a whole bunch of names. You got to stop on a name. What would your name be? Like, they would ask you certain things, and once by the end of it, it would then give you your Star Wars name. There was a generator that used to create Star Wars names. Like,
what?
It was, bro. You know what my name, my Star Wars name.
What was your Star Wars name?
It was Nabith Kerr. Nabith. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Nabith Kerr. It was Nabith, Nabith, and then Kerr, Curr.
Were you a scoundrel?
It said that I was a wanderer. It said I was a wanderer. It said I was a Force user. I was a healer that never basically accepted the Jedi way.
Oh, okay.
And it called me Nabith Kerr.
Nabith Kerr sounds like someone who would hang out with Quinlan Voss.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
That's
they would get along quite well.
Yeah. That's what Charlie D. McCoy said. Nabith Kerr is a quispy name. But nah. But yeah, bro, like, New Hope opened up, like, literally, it was the blueprint of my entire existence, but also a confusing factor. Like, because it was like, okay, you're saying it's in a galaxy far, far away.
And a long time ago.
This
is not the future.
Yeah, like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Where they're taking.
Meanwhile, I'm looking around going, so this is the future. This sucks.
Their technology is so much more advanced than our shit. Like, literally. And that's a long time ago. They had flying cars. They had hovercrafts, bro. They had speeders. They had tauntauns. They had all the cool shit.
They had light speed.
Chipmunks and squirrels and mice to be stealing your shit, and bikes and shit that I gotta put gas in, bro. Like, literally.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
No, the closest thing to a Wookiee I have around here are the raccoons that get into my garbage. Those trash pandas. Swear to God, it's the closest thing we got. I'm like, so that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And then the world became boring. It's like, oh yeah, you live on Earth. Earth just missed all this, apparently.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like, come on. But yeah, man. So everybody out there, we didn't go on a tangent, but it's a fun conversation to have. So again, we are going to be talking about none other than New Hope, Star Wars. Well, again, originally the name was Star Wars before it became a New Hope. But we're going to actually be covering everything that after the experience of Rogue One. So we're going through the actual timeline and how things make more sense now because of Andor, because of Rogue One. So we're just kind of traveling through and just putting things together. Now, before we actually jump in, let me say what's up to the chat. Everybody we got out here. We got Pedro Lopez in the building. Go to a random Home Depot. Chances are you'll find a Chewy there. You probably would. We got Charlie the Unicorn in the building. Thank you for being here, brother. As always, let me see who else we got. We got my man Crunkburger, lightsaber, spaceships, and still eating ramen. Yep. You know what I mean, bro? Crazy. Who else we got? We got Riz Talentino, Quith P. He said he's crazy, bro. Who else we got? Mark P's in the building. Who else we got? Roach with a jacket is in the building with us, man. Thank you for being here as always. Who else do we got in here? Mitchell Lawrence is in here. Tyler Smith is in here with us. Thank you for being here. Let me see who else we got in here. Paul Morales is in here. Thank you for being here, bro, as always. And we got Fig Posers in the building. What up with you, brother? Thank you for being here, as always. Now, before we jump into this as well, got to pay homage to the places, of course, where we get majority of our collectibles, because it's always worth talking about those individuals. Starting off with my man Ray over there at Underground Figures. Underground Ray. I call him all day, every day, Ray. Making sure that you have everything that you need. No NRD, shipping and handling is definitely reasonable. Sign up for that newsletter so you are always up to date as to what you're looking for. Now, again, speaking of Star Wars, if you were looking for that Anakin, you already know you can actually reach out to him and you can actually find it. He even has Anakin on the staff. So, like a lot of those Grail pieces that you don't actually have, hit him up. He'll definitely take care of you. Sign up for that newsletter so you're always up to date. And on top of that, create yourself an account, because you never know when he might have free shipping or he might have a discount code on a figure of choice. Also, we want to give a shout out to our guy Ray over there at Hawk Wars Toys. It's Hawk Wars Ray, always coming through, making sure that we have everything that we need. He gives you the figure, comic book stickers, nice little care package. Proud sponsor currently right now of the Figure Flex Friday Facebook group. Hit him up and he'll definitely take care of you. Also, got to give a super duper shout out to our guy Jacob over there at Comic Relief and Comic Collectibles. Again, it's not just about the figures, even though he has them, but it's also about source material. If you're looking for the material behind the figures and all the collectibles that you have, hit him up. He'll definitely take care of you as always, as he always does. Also, we got to give a shout out to Brian Wong over there at Mod You Case, Mod You Space. If you're looking for an incredible display, he'll definitely make sure that you have everything that you need to proceed from the mono, different cases, different case options. Hit him up. He'll take care of you. And also, got to give a super duper shout out to my sister, El Deluvio, Tina Cruz, making sure that, again, she takes your figure experience from here to there with her incredible work. So hit her up, tell her I sent you, and she'll make sure that you are magically taken care of. And on top, now listen, you might have to get yourself on the list, because like I said, she's one person doing a lot of this stuff. But when it's done and you get that nice little care package from her, I guarantee you will be impressed. So definitely want to give her a super duper shout out. So X, let's go back in time, man. Let's first time. Tell me about the first time, bro. Like the very first time. What was your order of seeing which movie? Because here's the thing. I got it. Okay, let me say it this way. I saw A New Hope in 1977 for the very first time, right? Now, the movie was impactful, but it wasn't as impactful as it would be when Empire dropped. Because when Empire dropped, they re-released New Hope in the theater. So they allowed you to basically see New Hope and Empire in the same theater when I went. So you got a chance to kind of see both. And it was so impactful at that particular time. I remember the experience. What was your experience as far as what was the first film that you saw that kind of got you into the lore? Was it New Hope, or was it another film that you saw first that got you into this space?
I started off with, which one was it? It was Empire Strikes Back, actually. Empire Strikes Back was the one that I started with, only because I was at the video store. And the VHS, and I didn't know the order they came in. I just saw it and went, "Oh, Darth Vader. Clearly, this must be Star Wars." So I picked up that, and I picked up Return of the Jedi, and it was the THX versions. So, and I alternated between the THX versions and the CBS versions that they released, but the old school VHS.
Yeah.
And I remember watching, so basically watching part 5, watching part 6, and not realizing that there was a part, there was part 4 until after I finished part 6 and go, wait a minute, I have a feeling I'm missing something here. And sure enough, I missed A New Hope. So then went back and watched A New Hope. And then I remember every weekend thereafter, I would go to the video store and pick up, it was usually A New Hope and Empire. Those are the two that I would pick up just on repeat. Until one day my mom came. She came home and she's like, "I bought you Star Wars." I'm like, "Awesome!" And she handed me the VHS tape of the THX version of Return of the Jedi. I'm like, okay, yeah. So, I had none of the others except for Return of the Jedi until, of course, seeing them in theaters for the first time, which was the special edition. So I remember seeing the commercials on TV and getting really excited. I mean, this is when Star Wars was back, baby. I mean, I was reading the books. By then I was reading, the Thrawn, Heir of the Empire and all that. I was into that, and really into that. And then the possibility of seeing him in the theater, you haven't seen anything until you've seen everything.
Yeah.
So then seeing the trilogy in the cinema was just absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, getting that, I actually had the opportunity to get the VHS box set, which came out. And there was the gold box set and there was the silver box set.
Mm-hmm.
I got the gold box set and my friend paid $10 more to get the silver box set. The silver box set was actually in widescreen.
Mm-hmm.
Me, the gold, which was $10 cheaper, was in full screen. So again, for years I had, I'm like, I have Star Wars, and again, watched it on repeat. But it wasn't until years later that I was just like, how did I watch Star Wars like that?
Mm-hmm.
the pan and scan. How did I watch, Star Wars like this instead of like this?
Instead of the way.
Hell, I was happy. I was happy because then all that led into Shadows of the Empire. The multimedia experience had everything except for it had a soundtrack, had a video game, had a book, comics, action figures, had everything except for the goddamn movie. Literally, it was everything. Yeah. Everything except for an actual film. It was a Star Wars release, except for there was no actual film. And then from there, it was all downhill Star Wars wise from there, because then I just picked up every single release that they released. There's and now it's on DVD. I'm like, ooh, it's on DVD, and now it's in widescreen. Mm-hmm. Now it's on Blu-ray. Now it's on Blu-ray, and depending on which version you bought, that determined. There were just so many different versions, and then finally I have it on 4K. But for this, I actually watched it. So I have a couple of different versions. I have the 4K and all that stuff in another room, in the Blu-ray, multiple Blu-rays. But do you remember this release?
Yeah,
the limited edition. It's in 480.
Yeah,
480. But it's like, hey, if you want the original Star Wars, here's the limited edition in 480.
In 480, bro.
It's so bad. But if you want the original official release, now what I watched was the despecialized version. So watch the original Star Wars without all of the special edition stuff. I alternate between this and the special edition because sometimes I'm in the mood for the special edition, sometimes in the mood for just seeing it in its original
format, bro. Like
original special effects, original. I'm like, let me see this and see if it is just as impactful without all the new special effects. And it is. It really is. But you really get to see how well it's put together. And for the time, you're like, wow, I could see how people were just blown away by this because this is something. This is something special. Like, this is what they were able to do in 1977 with that script, with that cast, with those special effects. It was lightning in a bottle.
It was, bro. Like, I remember, like, and here's the thing, like, we talk about like the special editions, and I'm kind of pull because this seeing this image, and I want to kind of pull this up here, bro. This image for the very first time as a kid, I was traumatized, seeing this first image on screen. In general, I was traumatized at seeing Darth Vader walking through a corridor after, now mind you, this was a time when actually stormtroopers would hit their target.
I was going to say, they did a pretty damn good job of clearing a path, like, oh yeah,
hitting their target.
Unless you're the main characters, we can't. If you're not main characters, you're fucked. But
but they did a damn good job with really hitting their target. And just imagine like watching this and the slaughter of, now mind you, the crazy part about it also was being a kid, seeing these stormtroopers, going through corridors, I actually thought they were machines. I thought they were robots. I did. I thought they were, as well as Darth Vader. I thought he was a machine. You know what I mean? Not half man, half terror. You know what I mean? I thought he was just basically a machine. But just seeing this for the first time, seeing Vader walk through the corridor, I actually got frightened and ran out the theater. My dad came out and brought me back in the theater. Was like, no, you're going to face your fear. You're not going to fear something like this, and sat me down. I watched the entire film, and we ended up sitting there 2 more times watching it. Damn. And that was the first experience with both my mom and my dad in theaters watching this on the big screen. I had to have, and here's the thing, bro. This is before they even hit VHS. Because remind you, at that time, we didn't get them on VHS at that time. The only time you could see it was on TV. If it came on TV or public or HBO, when there was 2 channels, two premium channels back then. We had one HBO box with one knob. It was HBO and it was Prism. Those were the only 2 channels. And Star Wars came on HBO, and it was a special event. I remember it was a snow day, bro. It was a snow day. We had to stay home from school. Star Wars came on. I grabbed the biggest bowl of Captain Crunch and sat in the biggest bowl of Captain Crunch. I had like a cake bowl, bro, full of Captain
your
Crunch.
Best. That's when you could do that and not have to worry about like things like diabetes. Now I'm like, I can't do that. I wish I could do that. I wish I could have Lucky Charms. I really, really do.
Yeah, bro.
Now the thought of the marshmallows just hurts my teeth.
Yeah, like you can't, not anymore. You can't do that anymore, bro. That's
back when cereal had toys in it.
Yeah. God damn it. Bro, you would get the box just to find out what was in it. Yeah. Yo, you would take the bag out the cereal box and just look around and see, okay, where's my shit? Where's it at? Where's it at? Yeah.
And you do the horrible job of trying to get the bag back into the box, and it's just like, this is.
You gotta smash the bag back in just to kind of get back. It's like, or remember this. If you got so for me, bro, there was a cereal box, and on the back of the cereal box, it had either the Darth Vader mask or the Luke Skywalker mask, and you had to cut along the dotted lines just to get the mask off the box. Do you know how mad my siblings were, bro, when they came downstairs and saw it missing? They were like, hold up, for real? Is this what we doing, man? Like, yeah, I mean, is this what we are really doing? But hey, you win some, you lose some. I had to get mine. But it was just, you just had to get it. But it was the whole, bro, like, I feel good living in this space in that time when the impact and how, bro, you don't understand back in 1977 how impactful this film was. Like, this shit, it was so impactful, it lasted for years until we got Empire, bro. Years until we got Return of the Jedi. It was just a storm. Star Wars just could not miss. It could not miss. It wasn't amongst the conversations that we see right now amongst the zeitgeist. Star Wars could not miss, and it was just so much nostalgic and so much, the moments. But I felt like it was taken away when George Lucas decided, I'm just gonna do special editions, all the things that I couldn't do. I was like, wait a minute, what? I mean, I want Sebastian Shaw to still be Anakin Skywalker under the mask and the Force Ghost, bro. I still want that. I want the original look of Emperor Palpatine, bro. I want Han to shoot first.
I was gonna say, it's like Han shot first.
He shot first.
Greedo shot first. Then they shot at the same time.
Yeah.
And so depending on which version I watch, Han shot first, Greedo shot first. And some of them, Han steps on a bad CGI Jabba the Hutt's tail. And some of them, Han steps on a slightly better CGI Jabba the Hutt's tail. And in some, the scene just isn't there because that's, just never in the original film. So it's like anyone who's like, you like, A New Hope? It's like, which version of A New Hope? Because you can't say you've all seen, if you're like, I watched, A New Hope the other day and someone else were to say it, can you really say you saw the same movie?
Yeah, right. Can you? Because you don't know.
Did you see the McClunky version? Did you see McClunky? The McClunky edition.
You got it.
McClunky.
Like you literally have to ask those questions. Like that's the thing. It's like, oh yeah, I watched Star Wars today, and it's always followed with, which version did you watch though? Version? You know what I mean? Which version was it? You know what I mean? Was it the special?
I mean, I've had theaters re-release it, and I've had to call the theaters to say which version is it. Seriously, I'm like, before I buy the tickets, which version is it? And I remember taking my significant other, and he and I were like, okay, we're going to see Star Wars. And I had to apologize. I'm like, it's the special edition. He's like, I don't know what that means. I'm like, you'll find out. You'll
find out. You'll find out when you get there. Like, don't even worry about it, bro. Could you imagine, like, you calling them up, and then they're probably like, okay, we got one of these again. Just asking about the special edition.
And I could tell that I wasn't the first person who called. I'm like, if you just put it on your damn website, I wouldn't call about. Because then the other day, like someone showed, I think it was like an original print of Empire, and again, I called him like, which version is it? Yeah, which version of the movie are you showing?
Oh, bro, I remember it because like with the classic with the original, when Han went chasing after the stormtroopers. And he got down the corridor. You didn't see that many in that room.
No, it's just like a handful. But
it was like a handful. So in our minds, it's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you running from all them? From that little, just shoot them off real quick. It's you and Chewie. What you running for? But then it makes more sense when you get the special edition. You see that
just the whole procession and like a room just packed.
Full of the garrison, bro. You got the whole garrison legion there, bro. 501st, and it's like, okay, now I see why you ran back. Now it makes more sense. Okay, so I guess he needed to do that to make it sense. But I was like, that's just like the impact of the original, man. It just made more. I like the simple fact that when Luke was in his speeder. And you just saw the Vaseline at the bottom of the screen that was covered.
The blur, or as they call it, the force field, the force, the blur, that orange. I missed that orange blur, and I saw it the other day when I was watching. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that this was a thing. The orange blur. The orange blur. Good grief, the orange blur. God. But you're right. This scene, whether you're watching the special edition or not, when he walks in after all that stuff, he walks in. And it's just his, just this fanfare, this music, and then it gets really quiet. He doesn't say anything.
No.
He just looks around, and then he just walks past the camera. And then he just
walks past the camera, bro.
It's just like, oh, no. Who's this? Bro. Oh, no.
Think about it this way, too, though. So, we've just seen Rogue One. They got the Death Star plans in Leia's hand. They're thinking, we've got a way. We've got a way. We've seen the terror. We're getting away from it.
Some shit. We have seen some shit, and we barely made it out with our lives. That was they didn't even know what that was that they saw. No. Is the thing. Most people have never seen Darth Vader, so they don't know what they were seeing. No. They just know it was terrifying, and they barely got away. Only to then. Get caught.
And as Andor has proven, there is actually cursing in the Star Wars universe. Oh, nobody in that room said, what the fuck is that at all?
I'm sure the captain's like, shit. No.
Oh, shit.
They're trying to turn the engines back on. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Giving it some gas. Come on, baby.
Come on. Let's move.
Come on, just trying to get the engine to turn over. Come on, baby. Come
on, let's go. Like, literally, you did all of that just to get captured, bro. Like, just to get slaughtered. Like, everybody in that room, like, literally, there was only maybe a handful of them left. Those who surrendered at that point.
Yes. And then they got questioned. Where are those transmissions you intercepted? What have you done with those plans? No. He doesn't even give him a chance. He's like, if this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador? He's choking the life out of him.
Yeah. Where is the ambassador, bro?
Is the ambassador?
And it kind of, here's the thing. Like, you think about that. if they're saying this was an ambassadorship,
mm-hmm.
why was it even there in the first place? Well, I'm just thinking about this. Like, why was it there? Why was it even close to Scarab, bro? Like, why was it there?
We're on a diplomatic mission, really. But where were you before you were on this diplomatic mission?
So Vader was saying you're lying because you were just saying you proved
you weren't on any mercy mission.
No.
I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you. You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away. But the fact that she stood up to him after all the stuff we've seen in Rogue One and all the stuff he did to everybody, and they probably did, as Charlie the Unicorn said, they probably did unalive all the rebels that they didn't, leave to question. They probably did unalive them because I don't think he was joking when he said, and tell the Senate that all aboard were killed. I don't think that he was joking. He's like, no one's going to talk about this, especially knowing what they had. It's like, no, we don't. Any of these jokers could have seen the Death Star plan.
Yeah.
Any of them could have seen the Death Star plans. We don't want any of these people alive.
Nah. Anyone could know.
You saw what Krennic was going through just to try to keep it under wraps with Hardagast and everyone, where it's just like, we need to keep this a secret.
Mm-hmm. Bro, like, we
need to keep it a secret. What was it? Yularen didn't know until like a month before.
A month.
So it's like Yularen didn't even know.
Yeah, a month before. But so if you think about it, it's like, again, they didn't. It's a consular ship, or basically you're getting the plans. There were no escorts, no one to escort. It was just them. You know what I mean? Like, they have the most important piece of information. There was nothing at that particular time. You couldn't, so if technology is as advanced, there's no way that you can transmute or transfer that information to Yavin from where you were. Like, they physically had to, that's like taking a reel to reel from one location to another. That's what it is, bro. Like, technically that's what they had to do. You know what I mean? So just thinking about just that, getting from one place to another and the sacrifice. Rogue One has just basically made this movie on so many different levels make sense. And we're talking everything that happened from Revenge of the Sith. How everything ties in. We go from Revenge of the Sith to, everything that we got from Andor, everything that we got from Solo, a Star Wars film, everything that we basically got,
everything we got from Kenobi,
from Kenobi, and we got a chance to basically see a feisty version of Leia as a young kid.
I have thoughts on that though. I have some Kenobi based thoughts, and I'm just like,
what's your thoughts though? Like, no, we're here now. So what's your thoughts, bro? What's your thoughts on that?
So the scene where Vader and Kenobi. The scene where Vader and Ben meet again. And I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Yeah.
Only a master of evil, Darth. The fact that wasn't their first meeting since Revenge of the Sith, that rubbed me the wrong way. Because I can't imagine Vader resting, knowing that knowing that Kenobi is still out there kind of kept him going in a certain way, where it's like, no, I'm going to have my revenge. Even in Rebels, you saw that he was, hoping to use like Ahsoka to find other lost Jedi, and he's like, like Kenobi. Yeah. So he knows he's out there. It's just that seeing them, and I do appreciate that scene in Kenobi where because it finally gave it gave Hayden Christensen a chance to act, which he can do. And that scene is so great when he's like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Yeah.
I'm just like, ooh, okay. Yeah, that is, terrifying and sad. But yeah, the fact that it's like, well, this isn't, how many times do they run into each other before they finally, that final time on the Death Star,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if it diminishes that scene or if it makes it stronger. I could see both. I could see someone saying, it actually makes it a stronger scene, because now Vader has even more
hatred.
You could see these being even more careful. He's like, no. Last time I didn't do this right, and this time I'm going to do this right. This time, again, when I left you, I was but a learner, but now I am the master. Of course, if that had never happened, then you could take it all the way back to Revenge of the Sith, where he was never a Jedi master, and he's like, and now I am the master. So it's very interesting when you add more Star Wars to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that, with Rogue One, with Andor, it affects A New Hope.
Yeah.
You add Kenobi and you're filling in the gaps, but depending on how you fill in the gaps, it can change the overall tone of the story,
So the way it felt in a sense was because we're looking at Vader from a totally different lens now, because you had a Padawan who became a Jedi Knight, but didn't fully become a Jedi Master. But it was the start. It was after his demise, Anakin's demise at that point. Then it's like, now you have to become a student again. So now you're basically a student of, or a pupil now of evil. So with him in Obi-Wan, again, he's still basically filling himself out. Remember, he's still trying to figure out the, everything that the suit can do, everything that the suit, presents. He's still trying to feel his way through his suits. He's like a technological terror himself. So, just kind of moving around, in constant pain still, always back and forth with the Bacta tank. He's still now a student. Again, he's a student of, he's a Padawan almost once again, a student of evil this time, still trying to learn. So I think at that time it was still at his most vulnerable space, because he's still going through so many different emotions. And that's how Obi-Wan was able to beat him yet again. This is why I always say, you know what? I wish, and this is crazy, because it makes more sense that he would carry that much anger and frustration what we saw in the Death Star at that time. Because again, that's twice now you've lost to someone that initially you've cared about, but now you were so angry because in your mind he was at fault for taking everything that you knew away from you. Even in your own hubris, he is the blame. You're placing the blame. And that's why I wish that cut, that cut, that infamous, that famous cut that guy did of both Obi-Wan and Vader fighting on you. We got a chance to see like somebody cut it a different way. They had two different actors, and it was, I wish Lucas would have bought that and said, you know what, let's put this here, an extended cut, and it would make so, because Vader gave him the business, bro. Like literally.
Some of those moves were just downright dirty, and I loved it.
Bro,
I loved everything about it. And I've seen people go, this isn't Star Wars. I'm like, this is fucking awesome is what this is.
This is awesome, bro. This is Star Wars, and he was whooping his ass. So with that, it made everything else beforehand make so much more sense. It made the fresh, I mean, you're dealing with the loss of not only, someone that you love, but potentially children that you've never got a chance to meet. You know what I mean? You're dealing with someone who you thought was your brother at that particular time, or your mentor, like more like a father figure to you. In your mind, he turned his back on you and left you to die. And then you fight him again and you lose.
Twice.
Twice. You got your ass kicked.
And I love what he says, and when he's walking away and he says Obi-Wan, but he says it twice. And the first time it's like almost like he's, pleading for help. And the second time he's just angry. Yeah. Like, don't leave, which is the first time he's like Obi-Wan, and then he just yells, Obi-Wan! Yeah. So it's like, okay, yeah, you could see the two sides of Anakin Skywalker there, or two sides of, the character there, more or less, because again, Anakin Skywalker he was destroyed. Mm-hmm. Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does make it interesting when you pack in more story and fill in the gaps. And sometimes it can, add to the lore.
It adds like layers.
Exactly. It adds layers. It adds complexity, character development that we never got to see. We didn't get to see either in the prequels or in the original trilogy. And I mean, for what it was, I mean, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen did a great job with their roles in Kenobi. I wish it was I wish it was a film. I really do. I know we're not here to talk about Kenobi, but I do wish that Kenobi was a film and that it had the money and love that Andor got.
Yeah. I mean, that because it in that space, it would have made a hell of a lot more sense. You know what I mean? Like it would have made it work. It made things stick a bit better. If Obi-Wan would have got the money, and the thing is, it deserved it. I thought that, you know, Obi-Wan definitely deserved more of a theatrical release. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It deserved to be on the screen, seen the way, you know, it should have been seen, but it just never got that. It never, you know, the money wasn't put there. And I think it was just the back and forth, because at the time, I think the original idea was to make it a film.
The original idea was, and then all of a sudden people had delusions of grandeur.
Bro.
Streaming services, and now, you know, the talk is they're going to scale back streaming. You know, they're going to step away from streaming. And I mean, I've always thought that Star Wars animation works really, really well in long form storytelling on TV. It works really well. We saw that with Clone Wars. We saw that with the Tartakovsky, you know, shorts. We saw that with Rebels. We saw that with Bad Batch. We've seen it with Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Underworld, Tales of the Jedi. We've seen it with Star Wars Droids. Now, that is an interesting cartoon. But we've seen it done really, really well, and from Dave Filoni. And live action, though, it just feels like it should always be on the big screen, with the exception of Andor. They really did take their time, and it really did benefit from long form storytelling, because it took a lot to pull together the rebellion. It took a lot to get it to where it needed to be, and what they had to do to get there, seeing all of that. And then in A New Hope, seeing, okay, here's the flipping Death Star. Yes. You know what people had to do in order to take this down? You know what they had to do in order to get the plans? Luke Skywalker will never he found out later in the comics what they had to do, you know, but when he flew in initially, he had no idea. You know, the sacrifices that, you know, that were made. He just hopped in his X-Wing and did his thing. Later on, of course, he found out about, you know, the Rogue Squadron, Rogue One, and all of the sacrifices that were made. But I highly doubt he ever heard the word, you know, the name Luthen Rael.
Never.
You know, again, as Luthen said, I'll never have an audience or a mirror or light of gratitude. You know, which is so unfortunate, because all of that went into stealing the Death. That was like his last great thing, was telling them, hey, there's this weapon, and you gotta take it down, and here's all the information I have on it. And that allowed them in A New Hope to fire that proton torpedo and take the thing out. You know, it's just the perfect combination of elements. But the Death Star, it's central to this. It's central to the original trilogy, and it's just this massive. It's a weapon that, if it were ever to come to fruition, then the galaxy would be doomed to an eternity of darkness. Like, there would be no stopping the Empire, because you've seen what they can do. You never really got to see that in A New Hope. You know, you got to see it a little bit, because those poor Jawas. And Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. And I stopped to think about that. I'm like, ooh, yeah, they did kill all those Jawas, didn't they? And then they dragged, you know, they set the farm on fire, and they dragged the corpses of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. And set them on fire. So it's like, oh yeah, no, this is pretty evil shit. And now I'm seeing it kind of in a different light, where I'm like, whoa, they would do that just looking for a set of droids. It's like, yeah,
bruh, like a scene that will reign forever in our minds, you know, for the rest of our lives, is the literal, or like, bro, literally, like, it's, you know what? I don't mean to laugh, because, you know, it was a death. I don't mean to laugh, but bro, they literally got cooked.
Just two smoldering skeletons just thrown out in the sand. It's like, that is harsh. So that's what stormtroopers are willing to do. And we just met these people. We just
met them. They burned them to a crisp, bro. Like, I mean, damn. Like, yeah, bro. Like that's harsh. Like, that's really harsh when you think about it, bro. Like, we rest in peace to Uncle Lou and Aunt Peru. Like, you know what I mean? You definitely didn't deserve to, you know what I mean? Like, but
you got to see them in the Kenobi show. So now
it's just like, to see them in the Kenobi show. You got a chance to basically see them in, the original trilogy. I mean, the prequels. So you definitely got a chance to see them then. So yeah, but here's the thing, bro, because when we think about this, like, the whole concept of the rebellion and the Empire, bro, Andor and Rogue One kind of flipped this on his head, because now when you think about it, we talk about how ruthless Andor was, but with the actions of Luke hitting that right spot, you obliterated thousands of people on that Death Star, bro. Like, you literally blew up a whole bunch of people on that Death Star. And the reason why I say it is because it's occupation. That's the one thing that we learned.
Probably about about 1 million people on the Death Star, and it was the Empire's best and brightest that was on the Death Star.
Occupation, bro. Occupation. They were
but
there.
Some people were just going to work. Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. They were just there to work. When you think about it, they were just there to work. They were hired to do a job.
It's a mobile peacekeeping station that just happens to be called the Death Star. It is the DS-1 orbital battle station. Yes. But, it's the Death Star. But I'm sure it's for peace.
But I'm sure it is for peace, bro. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. They were obliterated in the blink of an eye, bro. But at the same time, you were willingly responsible for the destruction of an entire planet.
Yes,
almost an entire solar system. You know what I mean? So you were responsible for that. So again, karma is a bitch. But you think about the whole concept of occupation on both sides, because now we get a chance to see how really the rebellion was established on the backs of Mon Mothma's decisions at that particular time. Money that was laundered. There was a lot of money laundering at that particular time that we didn't know. You know what I mean? To kind of, really, really with, with a lot of people would say that you were supporting a terrorist organization. Because that's just the way, from a certain point of view, the rebellion was reviewed or seen as.
Yeah.
A terrorist organization. Because
one person's hero, one person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist.
Another person's terrorist, bro. So I think about that and I'm like, damn, like,
even Krennic says that in Andor season 2. It's like, terrorists.
Yeah. Like, that's just sort of like the way they were kind of viewed. So it's like, when you see it that way, it's like, yeah, the rebellion was there to, because the thing is, we know from both sides, is like, both sides will think that they're right in what they're doing. The Empire was to bring order in the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
What they saw was order under dictatorship was to bring peace. But under one rule. If everybody watching thinks that sounds familiar for modern times, it does. But basically, like I said, it was to bring order, right? So again, the rebellion was there to stop that order, because they thought that what they, represented was right. It's like Andor in Rogue One just flips everything on his head. So we see the New Hope from a totally different standpoint, bro. Like, literally, you know what I mean? Like, even with now we're seeing, Tatooine and, what was viewed as like just everybody. You have like smugglers, scoundrels, you had people that were scavengers that were actually there, Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, moisture farmers at that point.
You're farming moisture. How horrible is this? You're on a planet with 2 suns and you're farming moisture.
And you're farming moisture, bro. You know what I mean?
God. And it's probably still has slavery on the planet. And it's so far, it's one of those places that's so far away from the core worlds. The people in the core worlds, for the most part, have no idea what's going on Tatooine. They don't, and most of the atrocities that happen within the Empire happened outside of the core worlds. So the core worlds are like, yeah, we love the Empire. It's great. It's fantastic. You know, we don't witness these atrocities that really the Senate has been complicit in all these years. As you know, as Andor mentioned, we've been funding that energy project for years. It's like you have been approving funding for the Death Star for decades, and you never once saw what you've been building. So they've been complicit in all of these atrocities for years. But most of the average citizen, at least the ones that live above ground, we're talking about the lower levels of Coruscant, that was a whole nother, that was a horse of a different color in the lower levels. But the people who, the average citizen didn't know what was going on. And to them on the Holo News, it was, look, a terrorist attack. Every time a rebel, the rebels struck something, it's a terrorist attack. It's a terrorist attack. But then slowly over time, especially once Tarkin destroyed Alderaan, I mean, Alderaan was important to the galaxy. It was the center of culture. It was, it was not a Tatooine. Everyone knew about Alderaan. And destroying Alderaan, that woke a lot of people up. And it woke a lot of Imperials up to go, wait, I didn't sign up for this. And if anything, it strengthened the rebellion, because a lot of Imperials actually defected because they saw, oh God, you destroyed, and some of them were from Alderaan. So it's like, you just destroyed my home planet, or you're willing to destroy a home planet. Again, not what I signed up for. Not
what I directly signed up for. And here's the thing, bro, like the crazy part about it was like, because Tatooine for so many years, like you just mentioned, there was still slavery on that planet, mainly because, like I said, some of the slaves were used to even mine spice. Spice was being fed to the Garrett or the Empire itself for fuel or like resources, and that's why the Empire in most cases turned a blind eye on Tatooine, because again, they knew about it, it was there, but it was there to basically fund a lot of resources. I even know that even with the what do they call it? The crate dragons. Resources from crate dragons were being the crate dragons were being mined, and resources that were taken from them were being funded to the Empire as well. Like, because the crate dragons shell, the armor, was being used for raw material as well. So again, they were just mining all these resources from Tatooine, but yet, and they're getting all these resources, and the only thing that Tatooine is getting back is peace. From their point of view,
I mean, it's like it's peace. Meanwhile, they're like ruled by a Hutt who does zero fucks.
Who did like zero basically fucks, bro. Like straight up, like zero fucks, and comes on that planet and does exactly what they want to do. They're gangsters. They're Hutts. You have so many, that are using that planet for just resources, mainly spice. It's like a drug, bro, like straight up, to be quite honest. So, and when you think about all that, especially when it comes to Tatooine, Obi-Wan, you took Luke to this fucking planet, bro.
I was going to say, you took Leia to Alderaan and gave it to, royalty. You took Luke to a planet with 2 suns and slavery and sand.
I mean? Like,
win-win.
You know what I mean? Did y'all motherfuckers not know about Ox 2? You could have took him there, bro. You know what I mean?
Oh, his family's there. Take him there. Oh yeah, give him to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Uncle Owen, he's a pushover. He'll. Although I will say that he did, win me over in the Kenobi show when he's like, he is my own. It's like, okay, you do actually care about, care about Luke. Even though Luke wants to go to the Imperial Academy.
You know what? That's another thing, bro. That is another thing that completely I completely missed originally, was the simple fact that we were thinking that the academy that he wanted to go to at the time, from our point of view, the academy was probably the rebellion. Fuck no. He wanted to go to, bro.
The Empire was the biggest employer in the galaxy, and that was the way to get off
and
Tatooine.
that was the way
that
to
was
get
the
off
opportunity.
Tatooine. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Just think about it. Had he let him go, his life would have changed in such a different way, bro.
Yeah.
And not the way that we see it now. You know what I mean? Like, that's the crazy part, bro. Like, the life would have changed, but not in the way that we thought. You know what I mean? Like, that's the craziest part. So
he may have drank the Kool-Aid, he may have actually drank the Kool-Aid and gone, yeah, the Empire, we're here to bring peace. And he may have drank the Kool-Aid, much like Dedra drank the Kool-Aid. Of course, she was raised in an Imperial kinder block, so she definitely drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She was a firm believer.
Damn, it's like when I'm thinking about all this, like,
he wanted to go to the Imperial Academy.
Yeah, bro. It's like thinking about that now. I was like, yo, damn, like, years ago, thinking about it, it was like, we know that there's good in his heart at that particular time, but we only knew about his path through the eyes of Obi-Wan at that particular point. He knew that he was meant for something much greater, and even Owen knew. And I think, now it makes Owen's argument much better at that particular point, because he's like, well, maybe next year. It's like Owen was trying to keep him grounded, because he knew where he was going wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been a good place for you, bro. It would have changed your entire personality, and you'd probably end up dead some way, somehow. You know what I mean? So, and I wonder, and I'm like, yo, part of me wonders, would Vader have picked or sensed his presence through the Force had he joined? Because again, we know that Luke has talent. He would have become a talented pilot, bro. Talented.
Oh yeah, he definitely would have stuck out. He definitely would have stuck out. And I mean, let's face it, Vader really didn't want to go anywhere near Tatooine. So the fact that he was, near Tatooine, he was already angry about that. But that's the reason why you think, why put him on Tatooine? It's the one place Darth Vader's not going to go.
Not going to go.
There's so much pain and suffering there. He was enslaved. His mother died there.
And he hates sand.
And he hates, exactly. Put the boy on Tatooine.
Put the boy on Tatooine, because he will not go. He hates sand. He would never go. It's a place that he never wants to basically return, because, like you said, there's so much pain. He was a slave. He lost his mother. He slaughtered the entire or tribe of sand people, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But in that same movie, in Attack of the Clones, he also kills a ton of Geonosians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think about them as bugs. It's like, no, those are sentient creatures.
They're sentient creatures, bro.
But those are aliens, and he's slicing them in half and all this stuff. Wait. He's killing. He's just on a killing spree.
No diplomacy, bro. No conversation. We're just gonna slaughter them. And all they were doing was trying to pick you up and capture you, bro. That's it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's it. That's all they were trying to do.
You know what I mean? But
so I see why they were running for their lives, because it's like, God damn it, he's fucking killed us.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So
it's a fucking madman. He rolled up into our house / factory and started fucking us up.
Bro, he's the galactic Baba Yaga, bro. That's what he's known, bro. The Baba Yaga, bro, like, he's the galactic version. Anakin was. I'll kill you first, and then I'll ask questions, bro. You know what I mean? Like this.
I didn't click until a few years, recently when I watched Attack of the Clones. I'm like, wait a minute, he's just slicing people in half. It's like, wait, those are actually sentient beings. They're not bugs. Bro. They're actually sentient.
They're sentient beings that can, yeah, bro. Like, when you think about it now,
Tuskens to killing Geonosians, it's like, oh god.
Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying. Like, to him, would he have thought that they were sentient, or did he know and just didn't care?
Well, I mean, I think at that point he's just like, hey, Padme's in trouble, or hey, I've already gone this far, or who knows? Maybe he thought they were just. I mean, hell, even in Rebels, Saw Gerrera refers to Click Clack as a bug. You know, even though Click Clack is trying to lay some knowledge on their asses by saying, no, here's what they were fucking building. And he keeps drawing the Death Star over and over again. And no one, it doesn't click with anyone.
No.
And Saw Gerrera's like, God damn it, what were you doing here? And he keeps trying to
trying to tell you what they're doing. And you were just not listening because you're caught up in your own, bro.
Your own prejudice, your own bias against this bug. Whose bug's trying to help. This bug's entire species was eradicated, was wiped out by the Empire after they got what they needed from their labor on the Death Star. Then what did they do? They killed all the Geonosians and then they sterilized the Queen. And I think then they just killed the Queen. So yeah. So again, the Empire, not great.
not great at all, bro. Not great at all. But and then we know basically like even within the aftermath of the Empire's downfall, and a lot of even those who did work for the Empire went through that whole reform program, some of which succeeded, some which did not, which we got a chance to see. I think that was the one thing that they actually did great in Ahsoka, is how they showed that some, even though they were supposed to be reformed, they were still working as like privatized cells, for the Empire at that particular point. Because even they touched on that in Era of the Empire at that point, where there were actually cells, remaining cells throughout the galaxy that were just waiting. They were in hiding. They were waiting. So there was no reform at that particular point. You know what I mean? So they did such a great job at demonstrating that in Ahsoka and in other, even in that one episode of The Mandalorian in season 3, how we saw that there was a reform program on,
Actually, I like those.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, the whole idea that, because if you think about it, you had people like Dedra who were raised in Imperial Kindablock and they drank the Kool-Aid. A ton of people from being very, very young were indoctrinated with Imperial propaganda throughout their entire lives. So, oh, look, now it's the New Republic. It's like, no. The New Republic doesn't seem to have their act together. I mean, that's what made it so easy for the First Order to rise, is the fact that you had senators that couldn't wait. It's like having like Nazi sympathizers, like after World War II, you had people who was like, oh yeah, all the Nazis are gone. It's like, no, they're just really good at hiding.
They're just really good at hiding and just planning. That's it. They're just hiding and planning and just waiting.
They didn't go up in smoke, and they didn't change their minds necessarily. Some of them did, but a lot of them, were like, no, I still a believer. And you had a lot of people that were still believers in the Empire.
And the Empire, as we got a chance to see exactly, as we got a chance to see in the poorly executed Rise of Skywalker. Like, there were people that were still, we don't like to talk about that, but there was
I've seen that movie once. I've seen it once,
bro.
And that's when it came out. I saw it once, and I think after it was over, I yelled, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah, bro. Like,
I own it. I own it on 4K, and I haven't been drunk enough to rewatch it.
Bro, I own it because, like I said, I'm just loyal to the trilogy itself. And when it's on for background noise. And I'll probably because I try to find as much good in it as I can. I try to pick just good spots from it as much as I can to kind of latch on to say there has to be something here that I can utilize, that I can cling to say, you know what, it is, there's hope for it. But then something stupid happens and I'm like, man, fuck it.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, bro. Like,
it's a pretty looking film. I will give it that. It's just, how did now we're on to like Rise of Skywalker, but how did those pieces of imagine the celebration on Endor, if those massive pieces of Death Star were just raining down on Endor and surrounding planets that were that size. It's like, oh God, really? I thought it like atomized and like blew up into like teeny tiny pieces. It's like, no, it blew up into giant chunks. It's like, are you sure?
Exactly.
That seems to be pretty intact for a space station that, that went boom.
Exactly, bro. And you know what? I put this up here real quick because I'm like, with everything that we know about Bail Organa from, the prequels, from, Andor, from Obi-Wan, and his space and his role within the rebellion itself, Alderaan getting blown up. We never got a chance to see, and I would have liked, that's the one thing that from, when I think about it, it's like, damn, A New Hope, I wonder if there was a moment that Mon Mothma sat down with Leia and actually asked her, was she okay? Knowing what she knew about, and her friendship with Bail Organa, did she ever sit down and just talk to Leia and be like, hey, how are you dealing with this? Because we see that how strong and headstrong Leia is, but we also know the closeness that she had with her father. Like, are you okay? You know what I mean? And I would, and again, because we're living in this galaxy and what we knew about Star Wars back then was totally different. Andor just flips the whole idea on its head because it gives it that level of emotion. Like, we always talk about Dave Filoni, how he basically fixed everything that we knew about the prequels through Clone Wars. Well, Andor gave, Andor and Rogue One gave New Hope like just a totally different, it's from, like, I'm viewing it from a totally different vantage point now, because now I'm just picking things together. I'm just like, what did Mon Mothma sit down with Leia and just have this conversation about? You had your entire family was obliterated. The people that you knew on this planet for years are gone. Like, how do you feel? And like Mon Mothma watching a friend die. You know what I mean? Like, these things are just like, you have now, it's so many questions in your head now that you have about this. But Leia, all we've seen from her was just strength. She picked up where her father left off because she now. Yeah.
She's lead. I mean, she's really leading the charge. I mean, she and Mon Mothma, but she's, leading the charge. The fact that they come to rescue her. This is some rescue. Into the garbage chute, fly boy. The fact that they come to rescue her, and she's like, "Okay, cool, sure, let's." And then, of course, she's like, "Yeah, they let us go," which may explain why they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It's like, don't kill them. We need them to get away because we put a tracker on their ship. So don't hit them. I think at the end of the day, I think stormtroopers can hit their target. We know they can hit their targets. It's just in that case, they did. Leia was like, they let us go, and Han Solo was like, they let us go. But the fact that she's gone through all that, and then they have the TIE fighter battle and all that, and Han Solo's like, not a bad bit of rescuing. But then, she has a moment where she's like, if money's all you love, then that's what you'll receive. And then she goes back to the back, after talking to Luke. Well, yeah, she may be going back there to have a little moment to herself because, again, her whole planet just got blown up right before her very eyes. Yeah. And now she still has a mission. She needs to see this through. Meanwhile, these two bumbling idiots that she's found herself with.
Yeah.
This is on rescue. You had a plan for getting in, you didn't have a plan for getting out. Again, if anyone who's upset about women in Star Wars, I don't know if you've seen Star Wars, because Leia, remember when Luke, they were gonna, swing over the chasm, he's like, oh yeah, extend the bridge. He's like, oh, find the controls to extend the bridge. He's like, I think I just blasted it. It's like, oh, God damn it. And then, he's like, okay, let me get my rope and all that. And he hands her the blast and says, hold this. And she starts shooting stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And she doesn't give it back. She's like, hold this. She's like, oh yeah, no, I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing. Like, I've done this before.
I love that. Hold this. And she's like firing at stormtroopers. And she's like, no. She gets in there and she takes care of it. She stood up to Darth Vader and Tarkin, and then had a choice to whether to give up, to give up the rebellion, to give up everything, or to sacrifice her entire planet and her entire family. So talk about strong female leads. And this is back in 1977. So again, 1977, people who were like, Mary Sue and all this stuff. Nope. So no, y'all need to calm down.
right here, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, calm down, because she exemplified that level of strength in a woman. And as what we know, George Lucas' original intent was for Leia to be the hero.
Yes.
That was the original intentions at that particular point. You know what I mean? So, you know, she was that, always going to be that. I mean, again, she had to play a nurturing role to Luke after watching his mentor die. Now, mind you, I feel some type of way about that because you only just met him yesterday. But you had to watch him mentor.
I was going to say, it's like you just met the. Meanwhile, Leia went on a whole adventure with this guy.
Bro. A whole adventure, and couldn't tell anybody because they had to keep it to themselves. And on top of that, she just lost her father, her entire planet. And you just met this motherfucker yesterday. Yep. And you had this connection.
It's like, oh no, Luke, you lost Finn. The guy who brought you a toy that one time. I mean, they did run into each other a few times.
Yeah.
They didn't really spend any time hanging out.
No time enough for him to remember. You know what I mean?
But,
like,
before Vader sliced him in half, though, I love that look. Now you look at it, and Obi-Wan looks over and sees Luke and Leia together, and Anakin's kids together, and he smiles.
That point.
Now I'm like, oh, okay.
That part is, and now that you say that, bro, that part makes so much more sense, because at that point, that's when Obi-Wan feels as though, okay, I've done exactly what I was supposed to do. Now I can let go. I can literally let go, because it's definitely not my fight anymore. It's not my fight. You fight me, but you're going to have to contend with them. You know what I mean? And they're your offsprings, and you don't even know it yet.
And you don't.
And you don't even know it yet. They are your offsprings. They're the ones that are going to be part of your demise, and you have no idea. Like,
Obi-Wan's like, oh, you're fucked now. All right, I'm out. Drops.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. You have zero ideas what is coming and what to expect. You know what I mean? But you're right, bro. Like, him looking in that moment, it was a defining moment. Like, okay, they are right where they need to be. He's right where he needs to be. He's reunited with his sister. He is right there where he needs to be. You know what I mean? So I've done what I needed to do. I've turned off the tractor beam. I've held Vader off as much as I can. I'm old. I can't do all this extra stuff.
I was gonna say, it's like he's reached the end of his journey. Well, at least his physical journey. I mean, he still has. He still has some work to do in terms of, guiding Luke as a Force ghost and stuff like that. Yeah. But for the most part, he's like, now let me step back and let these young people take the lead.
Exactly. So when you think about it, bro, did Vader win this moment? Did he win that moment? From a certain point of view, did he win?
This will be a day long remembered. It has seen the end of Kenobi. It will soon see the end of the rebellion. I don't think I've read many things, and in some cases he thought it was a win, but in many cases he felt cheated.
Yeah,
because he's like, wait, I don't know what happened.
And you can see when he touched the cloak, he was like, wait a minute, what?
Exactly.
What?
He's like kicking at it. He's like, wait, what? So he felt like it was like one last trick that was played on him.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's like, no, I killed you. At the same time, I don't fully understand what happened.
Yeah. And
knowing Obi-Wan, the way he does, he would probably, be like, no, this was supposed to be, again, like almost like Dedra, facing, Luthen and going, yeah, this was supposed to be my moment. Yeah. And Luthen's like, nope, yeah. I'm not going to let you have it. And Obi-Wan's like, I'm not going to let you have it. I might disappear. Yeah. I might go away, but you don't know what happened to me. In fact, I said, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Exactly. And I liked because Filoni put a lot of it in perspective, like he always does. He talked about Luke in the Last Jedi, and how Luke used as much energy as he could to project himself, across the galaxy in an image. He used every ounce of the Force at that particular time, knowing that he was going to die doing it, overexerting himself, but he used it to save a life. And he was like, the same could be said for Obi-Wan in this particular moment. He was old. He was well past his prime, and eventually was going to die. But he used every ounce of the Force in this very moment to hold off Vader.
Yep.
You know what I mean? In this moment to hold off Vader. And he was like, who knows? Say, for instance, if he, in this very moment, defeated Vader, he would have still died because he was using what was left and everything he had left to hold him off. If this, and again, once he saw Leia and Luke, he became one with the Force, as which was intended. He had studied for this all the entire time. You know, he had trained for this, to become one with the Force, the afterlife at that particular point. So I look at it as like, yo, long story short, he won again. Vader still ain't whoop his ass, bro, because he just literally evaporated. It was like, fuck it, you can't touch me. I'm out. I just held you off so them motherfuckers could get away. I'm peace. I'm going to join.
I'm stalling for time, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I'm just stalling for time.
I won. You can't beat me. You slicing through an empty cloak. Yeah, keep that motherfucker. You can keep the saber if you want to. I'm gone. I'm ghost. I'm out, bitch. It was this it, bro. Like, that's it. Yup, Renz. I still have the high ground. I still got the high ground. Like, that's it. There's no coming. I won this battle. You can't take this away from me, man. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's this, that moment, what you said it reigns true. He looks over, he sees both Leia and Luke. They can leave together. They did what they needed to do. Now, he didn't know that he's going to end up kissing his own sister, the Empire, and all that. And,
yeah. He's like, wait, no.
Yeah.
Wait, before you go, let me tell you that's your sister. Nah, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
You know what? Some things you got to figure out on your own. Let me let y'all just do what you got to do, and hopefully you figure that shit out, because I can't tell you everything.
That was important, and I forgot to tell you about that.
Shit, I forgot to tell him. You know what I mean? Oh, well, don't look at your sister like that, bro. Like, just don't. Hey, there was no time to show up as a Force ghost at that moment either, bro. You couldn't.
I know, right? It's just like, could have left a post-it note or something. It's like, Luke, if you're finding this, please don't hit on your sister. That's right. Exactly. She's your sister.
Exactly.
R2 was probably like, God damn it, man, that's your sister. That's your sister. Stop it. Also, Darth Vader's your father. Meanwhile, Luke's like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Exactly. Well, see, that's the thing, is it's like I was like, well, why? He could have told him early, but he didn't know, because at that time, even when they got there, Luke didn't know that she was there until R2 found her. So there was no time for the communication at that point. But yeah, bro, like, I mean, so many different things about this movie, even once they get to Yavin with the plans, because again, when we're looking at, I hate to keep going, we're going to keep going back, and when we look at both Rogue One and Andor and what we know of Yavin, once they got those plans, it's like, now we see it from a totally different light, because Vale was there, Mon Mothma was there. You know what I mean? Who else might have been there?
Leia was there.
Leia was there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Was Mormon there?
Should have been.
He was there. He had to have been there. Unless he basically went off with
unless he hopped on one of the ships. But you think about that too, where in Andor is like, you just lost, like a few days before this, you just lost a ton of pilots and ships. And now you're sending what you have left against the Death Star. This is pretty much it. It's do or die for the rebellion at this point. It's do or die. If you don't take this thing down, this is it for ships, in terms of our main base. This is it. We don't have Saw Gerrera anymore and his partisans. We don't have the Rebel, we don't have Admiral Raddus. We don't have Blue Squadron anymore. We lost a lot of X-Wings. We lost Cassian and Rogue One. So what we have left is it, and now we get to send that against the Death Star, and we have 30 minutes to do it.
Yeah, 30 minutes, bro.
That's true. It's like, it'll be here in 30 minutes, just so you know. It's like,
only have 30 minutes to do it, bro. We got 30 whole damn minutes to do it. So, you know, what do we do basically within this? Oh, bro. We got breaking news, bro. We got breaking news, bro.
Oh,
we got breaking news, bro. Oh, shit.
I sense something, a presence I haven't felt since.
Oh, shit, bro. We got breaking news. They have released Sassy Team, bro. And I didn't.
Really good.
That looks absolutely fucking fantastic, bro. Wow.
Okay.
Okay, bro. Okay.
Ooh, yep. Him with Fisto. Yep. And then Plo Koon in the back is going to look.
Yeah.
Yep. And then with that with that Chancellor Palpatine.
Bro. Yeah.
It's treason.
It's treason then.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
Bro.
They want the way they just strutted in there. They all, especially Kit Fisto, they had to strut. Bro. Just the way they walked into that office. It was just like
you walked in here so arrogant. It's like nobody. You know what I mean? If I'd have been like, well, Mace, we are dealing with the Emperor, right? And he is a Sith Lord, right? Shouldn't we, you know what I mean? Shouldn't there be minimal conversation? Maybe we should just go right in. It just,
I was going to say, it's like no negotiations, no aggressive negotiations. Well, just move right to aggressive negotiations. Negotiations.
Because you know what? And this is what was confusing about that scene. Because he went in, he said on behalf of the galactic, whatever, you are under arrest. Yeah. But at the same time, once you get to the next scenes where they're fighting, he was like, yo, he's too dangerous to be.
He's too dangerous to be left alive.
Why didn't you say that before? You know what I mean?
That was before he killed all my friends.
Yeah, bro. Like, why didn't you just say that?
Did you see what he did to Kit Fisto? God.
Yeah. Like, what?
I love it, Charlie. I am the Senate.
Yeah, bro.
It's treason then.
Bro,
and he lets out that scream and they all just like panic. It's like they all panic when he lets out that scream that just like paralyzes them.
Just paralyzes, bro.
Like they were not expecting that in the slightest.
Wow. Not at all, bro. Not this. So I get to ask you this question, bro. Is this something you'll have in your collection?
Only if it comes with a face of him like grimacing in pain. So that way I could have Chancellor Palpatine taking a swipe at him and then like a confused look on his face. This will be one of the last figures I add to my collection. One of the last. Only because I have Kit Fisto on the way from my local comic shop. Plo Koon is on the way. And then I need to reassess my collection and figure out what direction I want it to go in. May pump the brakes on the prequels because let's face it, if you're doing Jedi Masters, where's Ki-Adi-Mundi? You know, where's Shakti?
Yeah, bro.
Where's one with the insanely long neck? Where's my Yaddle? Damn it!
True.
Where's my Yaddle?
True. It's true.
Which I love her story arc in Tales of the Jedi. Oh my god, that was insane. I need a prequels Yoda. You know, so yeah, the number of things I was really hoping they would do a Revenge of the Sith Yoda to go along with the Palpatine that they're releasing, which should be released this summer.
Yeah.
Because having those two fight would just be pretty fun.
But see, from what I'm hearing, that they are going to do the Revenge of the Sith Yoda. They are doing that. Is this? I think it's going to be part of. There's a few figures that are going to be a part of the summer showcase, so they're still doing it.
Well, see, that right there, like this guy, I'm sorry, but I'm going to pump the brakes on you. You can get murked by Palpatine a little later because I need to get a Yoda before I get this guy. But this will be one of those figures I highly doubt they'll make. I keep saying it, but I'm like, I doubt they'll make this figure again.
Yeah, they won't. That's why. Because here's the thing, bro, and I've been saying it because I've always wanted the entire council. So again, it's more promising because if you're doing this, you got to give us a Shock T, bro. It's a must. You have to give us a Shock T, and I can't hold out on this because I don't know if it. You know what I mean? I don't want to miss out on this completing my council. So I know
I was going to say it's going to look impressive. They didn't give him the Clone Wars Tartakovsky like helmet.
Nah.
Remember that helmet, that kick-ass helmet he had? See, if they'd given him that, I would have done it because that helmet kicks all sorts.
That helmet was incredible, bro. That's what I'm saying. They could have done it, he does have his role, but I just like it without the tunic. It looks good, bro. It definitely looks good. I didn't know it was going to be coming this early, but yeah,
I'm just glad they did it. As opposed to again. Hot Toys, like, if you're going to show it, make it. Otherwise, don't show it.
Yeah. Definitely don't show it if you're not going to make it. But this, he got my attention. You probably will have my wallet on this. But like you said, I'm just glad they did.
I was going to say, Leia, you're going to get it?
Oh, yeah. It's, bro.
Your wallet, your emotions.
My wallet, my emotions, bro. I just want the entire... I definitely want it. I can't. I definitely can't pass up on this.
Now you just need to get like all the chairs.
That's true.
The chairs for the council chamber.
All the council chairs in the council chamber, bro. Yost. Yep. I know you ain't on Star Wars, bro. You know what? As a matter of fact, Prop Wiz. We're gonna be talking, brother. You can make me those thrones, bro. You can give me those chairs, bro.
Like, imagine making like a wide Costa case and then having a semicircle of all those chairs and having all your council members sitting in all those chairs.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you could also like print yourself like a Coruscant backdrop for like the windows and all that stuff. See, it's all coming together.
That's the plan. That's definitely the plan. So, like, even this, bro, like, because again. And I wanted to bring this, even though this is an image that wasn't in the movie itself, but it makes so much sense to have, like, because again, she would have been there. You know what I mean? She would have been there. She was on Yavin. She was there. We just didn't see her. We didn't get a chance to see her until Return of the Jedi. But she would have been there. So
she would have been there for the beginning, but then once they took off, for the battle, once they dispatched the fighters, she, according to a book that I read, I think it's called From a Certain Point of View. Yeah, she got into a ship. They basically sent her off with like a briefcase with all like the vital information for the rebellion. Basically, like, hey, get the heck out of here,
just in case.
Just in case, exactly. Just in case things go south.
Yeah.
Get the heck out of here. Because let's face it, at this point in time, Bail Organa's gone.
Yeah.
They've lost Admiral Raddus. They've lost God, what was the general's name? Part of Blue Squadron. They lost him. I have a feeling those two cowardly senators who were also there in Rogue One and also Andor that were a pain in the ass. One didn't believe the Death Star was a thing.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they probably, the one was like, I think the rebellion is finished. It's like, okay, they probably didn't stick around.
Yeah. They didn't stick around, bro. In Rogue One, they bounced. As soon as they basically saw that there was a war and that they were going to war, they was like, I guess that's our cue to leave, just in case. You know what I mean? So,
like one said, you'll fight alone. It's like, okay, yeah. Meanwhile, like Mon Mothma's like, oh yeah, no, we need to get after this. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
and we know that
she was one of the last ones, aside from like Dodonna and but yeah, she was one of the last main ones.
One of the last main ones that actually get there. And we know basically, like, even in the books itself, how she even was trying to, again, make amends with her daughter at that point. Still trying to, relate. And even when in her death, how her daughter basically even came after she died. You know what I mean? So there was, a lot going on with Mon Mothma. I still, me myself, bro, I want a story now based on the Bothans, bro. I want that.
That would be a pretty kick-ass story, actually.
Yeah.
That would be a really kick-ass story.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that either we'll get it in comic book form or we'll get it in I mean, it would be hell if they wanted to cast her in it.
Yeah. She could do it. If they wanted to basically cast her with like a small squadron of her interactions with the Bothans and how, you know, because you can do it with, you know, Bothan spies, mix that with like a few, you know, members of the rebellion at that time, like how they basically went undercover, you know, to try to get these plans, you know, for that second Death Star. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing: is like the plans have always been, you know, with the Empire itself, you know, and the resources that they have, especially how the Emperor himself was just draining. You know what? How art imitates life, bro. Ain't that some crazy shit? He was literally draining resources through the galaxy for his own personal gain. He stopped the whole funding towards the clone progress and was hiring like the garrison, bro, like which couldn't shoot for shit. He stopped some of the sub-mining on certain planets of resources at that particular point. Like stopped funding certain program, like a lot, everything, bro. Funding his own agenda at that point. All resources were basically drained. Even though he himself was rich and came from a rich family, still draining. You know what I mean? So yeah, man.
Oh yeah, we're going to increase taxes on these systems, and you know, because sure they're harboring rebels, or they're rebel sympathizers. So at least we think they are. So we're going to increase their taxes and their duties and all that stuff. Just because. Just because. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yo, Charlie, that would be dope. That would be Clea and Vale running with ops with the Bothans, bro. That would be incredible. That would be so like Clea, Vale, and Mormon basically would be dope. You know what I mean? Having them actually running with them, that would be incredible. That honestly, now Charlie, you're planting that seed. I would definitely want to see, because Clea running with them would be so fucking dope, bro. That would be amazing. It literally would. I'd love to see something like that, man. I don't know, bro. Anyway, like I said, I don't want to, get again. I think long and short of it is like our perspective on A New Hope. It's everything that happened with Andor into Rogue One just made it make so much more sense, and it just made for like even bro, like I look at and I pulled this up here, the end, the celebration on Yavin at this particular point, like now. If you look at everybody here, bro, and even how many people from the rebellion actually really did survive, and you had people that, because even in the books, you had people that were actually part of, the Empire who defected.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Who defected, and the ranks continued to grow because they started believing based on what they actually saw. You know what I mean? I forget what book that was where I think that the general, or it was somebody who was talking to who was it? I think it was in the comics when they were actually talking to Tarkin, and Tarkin was like, where did some of, like, because they had lost the transport full of resources and ships, and that's when the general was like, or the guy who was actually head of that division was like, well, we got word that there was some defects within ranks based on, Mon Mothma's broadcasted, whatever at that particular point. And then they skip ranks. And I'm like, ooh. So, you know what I mean? Ooh, maybe.
Yeah.
Or
it would be enough for people to realize, it's like, oh, that's what happened. It's like, ooh, well, that's not what I'm being told. And then they, maybe go and do their own research. I love this scene because now every time I watch it, I think, why are y'all standing around? You blew up a Death Star. You didn't take down the Empire. The Empire knows where you are.
They know where you are on Yavin, bro.
They know where they're sending ships your way. How much time do you have for your little ceremony?
Vader survived.
Vader did survive.
He did survive. He didn't die. He survived, and he knows exactly where you are. He knows the exact location. So, yeah, and which I'm thinking, like, did they leave though? Did they? They probably did, because again, that's a hot spot right now. We have to relocate.
Oh yeah, they
They
left
left.
Yavin
They
like
left.
shortly thereafter. It's just
They
they had
left.
enough time for their little ceremony.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they had the
y'all
ceremony.
should probably get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we on the clock. Get them awards out. That's probably why Chewie didn't get one. We didn't have time to make you one. My bad.
No time. No time.
We didn't have no time to make you one. My bad. We can't. You know what I mean? Next time. Next time. But no, that is true, bro. Like y'all spend so much damn time celebrating and giving away awards and stuff like that. And we know that both Luke, Leia, and they actually went on their own excursions and stuff like that right after this. Which made more sense. But yeah, man, like this again, I'm loving this because of the simple fact that now Rogue One and Andor have made me, really view this from a totally different standpoint. You know what I mean? Even how they were saying, I guess they said that even, bro, I saw there was who was I watching? They said that they even tried to tie in the simple fact that what's her name from Obi-Wan? I mean, from Mandalorian. What is her name? We'll never see the character probably again.
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune. They were trying to say that there was a possibility that Cara Dune was actually on Yavin around that time, or right before New Hope, at the end of Andor, or right before Rogue One. They said it was a possibility but I was like, well, because she was at that time part of the rebellion. And I'm like, well, leaving her planet, she was, part of, an army at that point. I don't know if she would have been there, because there was one cut scene where they saw like a whole people running, like when Andor was walking, and we saw a whole bunch of people basically running through like the jungles of Yavin. And they said that she was there with them. They was like one still where they were trying to make that correlation. But I was like, nah, I don't think that would have been it. I don't think that.
We're good.
Now we're reaching. We can leave it, there. But nah, man, like I said, it just, again, it's so many things that you question now with the rebellion. It ties a whole bunch of things together. It has you looking at things completely different now. The intent, and yeah, and the one thing I can say, and my mouth was like, Saw Gerrera is dead. Now that's one mess we don't have to clean up.
You know what they should have done is for this scene, they should have brought out that disco ball that they had in Andor season 2, replacing for that sick ass beat.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. That would change the entire perspective, yo. Have Martha come out in the background. Oh, y'all don't know how to do this. That disco ball. Hey, DJ.
Drop those funky beats.
Drop that. You know what to play. Play my shit. Hell yeah, bro.
Mon Mothma comes out, just starts tutorialing. That's my jam.
That's my shit, bro. Straight up. Anyway, man. Again, love the film, bro. New Hope. Again, everybody, y'all probably did the same thing. You watched Rogue One, New Hope came on. You probably watched that, went straight into Empire, and then Return of the Jedi, Mon Mothma's speech. Everything makes more. And then, and thanks for clearing this up. A lot of people cleared it up too, because again, after the occupation of the Empire, it was up. That did give Mon Mothma a reason to go back to Coruscant and become a senator, and once again, actually become the head, pretty much of the Senate at that particular time, and grow her hair back and dress in some nice garbs again, because she was living through some rough times with the rebellion, bro. She was.
She was rocking the bowl cut.
Yeah, she was rocking that bowl cut, bro. Straight up. She was probably like, I just can't live like this for the rest of my life, man. For real. But nah, man. Definitely, bro. Great movie. I hope everybody actually got a chance to kind of enjoy it again. Remember, what is it? Next year or the year after? 2027 is the 10th anniversary?
2026 is the
2026 is the 10th anniversary of Rogue One.
Yes.
And 2027 is the 50th anniversary of A New Hope. Back to back. So we got some Star Wars coming, bro. Some good. And I wonder, bro, because the 2027 is the 50th anniversary of A New Hope. I wonder if both Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and whoever else will be at Star Wars Celebration in California. I wonder.
Either way, it's going to be a fantastic flipping time, and I will be there.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yes.
Hell yeah. I will be there with bells on.
And we will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
Exactly. Anyway, man, thank you guys, everybody out there, for hanging with us this evening, man, for this show. It's definitely incredible. Walk down memory lane of the New Hope, and I'm hoping that you probably see it as different as we do now. And not in the sense of a special edition, just you view the characters different. You know what I mean? So anyway, X, what's going on, bro? What you got? What you going on?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, thank you so much for having me on, and always a great time to talk Wookiees and space wizards and laser swords. Love it. Love me some classic Star Wars, and I can't get Andor out of my brain. It's living there rent free.
Yes.
So thank you, Tony Gilroy, for that.
Yes.
And thank you, George Lucas, for this great, great world that we get to play in, and all the great stories that we've had, and all the great stories that are yet to come. This Sunday, Collectors Lounge.
Yes, we'll be doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, we got some things to talk about, especially with the SESI team. We're going to be talking about that as well. So we got a couple things that we can be talking about that's going to be on the docket. So yeah.
So looking forward to it. And thank you for having me on and talking some Star Wars
as well, man. And thank you guys, everybody out there. Remember, tomorrow we got Figure Flex Friday, and again Sunday Uncivilized. I keep on saying Uncivilized. Sunday we got Collectors Lounge, Comic Book Talk with Friends on Monday, Say What Wednesday, and possibly back for another episode. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We'll figure it out. We'll definitely figure it out. We can go into Empire if y'all want to. We can go directly into Empire.
That's it. The rebels are there.
Yeah, exactly. That is
the system.
Yeah, that is the system.
Admiral Ozzel came out of Lightspeed too close to the system.
He is as clumsy as he is stupid. Bro, the insults, bro. Like, literally, bro, like, you would try to you got one job. One job. And that one job is not to doubt. You know what I mean? Don't doubt. If there's a possibility, if there's inkling in a possibility, don't doubt. You know what I mean? Just say it's there. You know what I mean?
Just go with it. Just go along with it. If he wants to go there, if he wants to go to Hoth, let's go to Hoth.
You were so eager, so fucking eager, and you got killed because of it. So you know what I mean? Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Another episode, great episode, man. Again, shout out to Vinny, Uncle Keith, CC. Everybody out there that's part of the Collectors Line. I'm sorry, Uncivilized Scoundrels crew. On behalf of us, everybody out there, man, if you don't do anything else the rest of this evening, always stay uncivilized. Again, we'll talk to you later. Have a good rest of the evening. We are out. Peace.
So uncivilized.